we start? How do we get started in the art of living?
The first step is to realize that I do not know. And that's the most difficult thing one can say in an era where you are well informed. See, help can only come when you have this attitude of surrender. You know, when you think you know, no man worth the knowledge will ever come and give knowledge to you. Knowledge is always taken. Knowledge is never given. So make yourself worthy of receiving this knowledge by understanding how much you know is too little vis-a-vis what you do not know. The great words of Einstein, he said, when he was being felicitated in one of his speeches, he said, Einstein said this, what is my knowledge compared to my ignorance? In fact, the first sign of wisdom is humility. When you have wisdom, you become humble. When you have knowledge, you become arrogance. నేను చెప్తున్నాను కదా, I am telling you, నా మాట విను, నాందాపా சொல்றேன், that kind of an attitude, you think you know everything. So I think the very beginning of learning is to understand that I do not know. And that paves way. The moment you become a student of this knowledge, there's all the knowledge out there to help you to transform you. But as long as you don't have that mindset, no help will come. And all thanks to the very knowledge itself. So knowledge can be a blessing and knowledge can be a curse. Sadly, in this context, the knowledge itself has become a curse. And interestingly, where do you find wisdom? In the very knowledge itself. So it's a catch-22 situation. You need to have the knowledge and yet you need to approach it in the right way so that it serves you well. But when it serves you well, you get this Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. You get the clarity of intellect, which is a blessing. Mallika.
Wonderful. Yes. I follow many masters and I've had the good fortune and learning from so many gurus and including you. And they all talk about being an empty cup all the time because
yes.
When you're full, you can never learn anything new. And thanks for bringing that point. So one is coming from a place of willingness to know and learn. What is the next step?
See, the next step is the blunder in the choices we are making. I would say we are all nothing but the choices we have made. The present is nothing but a destiny. The present destiny is nothing but a fair reflection of my past choices thus far. Now, if all what I'm seeking is happiness, what are the choices am I making? The Shastras very clearly guide us as to how complex life is. Now, I would want to give an insight into this very subtle point. If I can request you all to be very receptive, a very subtle point that life is not what we think it is. True happiness in life, and this realization sadly, it doesn't dawn on us. We don't have that wisdom. What they say is any true happiness has a very distasteful beginning. Anything that is good has a unpleasant beginning. So he says true happiness is poison to begin with, nectar in the end. False happiness is nectar in the beginning, is poison in the end. Now, how do we realize that in life? In perhaps, if not all, in most of things it applies. To get on with life, to get up in the early morning, to do your study. Mallika, for the past 30 years, my day begins at 4 a.m. in the morning. And if you ask me, do you enjoy that? Enjoy getting up from the bed? It is the most detestable thing. But thereafter, what you do thereafter, the early hours, is the most enjoyable thing. It's the most unpleasant thing to begin with, but it is nectar in the end. Even to put on your shoes and go for a jog or a stretch or yoga or any form of exercise, is to get over that initial lethargy is very, very painful. But thereafter, you enjoy that vibrance of energy, life, lightness. So anything that has a distasteful beginning has a beneficial end. So all good and beneficial things have an unpleasant beginning. We've got to be very mindful. Anything good and beneficial has an unpleasant beginning, and anything that is bad and detrimental have a pleasant beginning.
So we're talking about instant gratification too.
Absolutely. You fall a prey to that instant gratification. And alarmingly, all wrong things are always right in the beginning. And all the right things are always wrong in the beginning. Don't ask me why is life designed like way. That's how life is, isn't it? But if all pleasant things have a pleasant beginning, all detrimental things have an unpleasant beginning, well, you don't need Vedas, you don't need Shastras, you don't need wisdom, you don't need this interview, do we? Everybody is by nature doing the right things. So the reason we need the wisdom is because life is complex. It puts us at a point of confusion. You get lost, and we don't have the clarity to make the right choice. So firstly, you got to understand that I do not know, which reflects in the wrong choices I make. It gives us enough reason for me to put aside my understanding and said, let me surrender to a giant intellect, which is the Vedas.
The way I would like to believe is life is pretty simple, and we complicate it because we do not understand it in the first place. So it's actually like giving iPhone 11 Pro to a toddler and expecting him to figure it out. So he's going to do what he could with that. So, and I appreciate that Vedas, we are in an age of technology. And as one of my masters says, in the age of information, ignorance is bliss. So the very fact that there are today 87 people on this call on a Sunday morning proves that they all have the attitude of learning, and they believe that they do not know enough and they could learn more, and they're here. So I would like to appreciate all of you for being there and surrendering to this process. So
that's wonderful to know. I didn't know that many were there. That's nice.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And the second point is, now that we understand the importance of Vedas, and Vedas teach us the basic principles you have touched upon about Vedas, that we need to surrender, the sense of detachment, and the ability of discernment to look at the larger picture and understand what life truly is, and then going about it is very fundamental. Could you please share one or two ideas from Vedanta in order to find inner peace?
See, first and foremost, we got to understand that peace is not something which belongs to others. It is not their commodity, it's your proprietary. You own it. So first and foremost, you be a master of it. Don't be a slave. See, everybody has gone about ensuring everything in life, don't we? Yesterday, or not yesterday, last week, when I was with a doctor, and well, good acquaintance, and we are very friendly, and so once the treatment or whatever I went for was done, we just having a little chat, and I was asking how things are and things, and he got into this insurance. He said, sir, the current times are pretty bad, so what I have done is I've actually increased my coverage from this much to that much. So I've increased my coverage to 50 lakhs.
Mhm.
So I'm paying this much premium. And then thereafter, he was constantly worried. No, I was about to tell him. And then I remembered knowledge is never given, it's taken. He has not sought me the advice, so I didn't give it. You see, but since you're asking me, I'm narrating that experience. Now we go about insuring everything, but we have not insured our own peace of mind. Have you insured your peace of mind? You have not insured it. So everything that happens out there affects you. It could be your maid breaking your chainaware. It could be as innocuous as that, or you could be losing your job, which is as valuable to you in this scenario. So somewhere between the most invaluable to the most valuable, something out there seems to affect you. Why it affects you? Because you have lost your liberty, you've sold your liberty to it. So first and foremost, understand happiness is not something external. Happiness is internal. And once you understand that, you will develop a sense of self-sufficiency. You believe that it is within. It is within, right? As Christ said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. The question is, do you believe in it? So because of our attachment and because of our wrong relationship with things and people, we are losing our own peace and happiness. But if you are able to relate with situations well, with an intellect, manage your expectations, and give that right relationship, you will find your peace and happiness is right within you. And hell and heaven, as John Milton says, hell and heaven are not geographical places. They say it's a state of mind. And if you leave your mind to itself, it can make a hell out of heaven, a heaven out of hell. So you can have everything going your way and you can feel hell about it. You can be going through hell of a situation and you can feel heavenly about it. So you got to understand it is not situations out there, it is what I make of it. Very recently, I was having a conversation with one of my very dear students. He's based in Hong Kong. I'm sure he would be there on this chat. He said he is certainly there. I don't see him in this screen though, but I'm quoting him. And he said this, Guruji, thanks very much to your teachings. You know, I've taken a big leap of wonderfulness in life. It's a huge leap into that wonderfulness. I'm actually experiencing that feeling of happiness and lightness. And when I say this, the current times, the year has been very challenging for business. And in spite of that, yet I feel so light, I feel so comfortable, I'm having a very peaceful sleep. So it is not the external situations, but how you relate to it, that all that matters. But if you believe it is outside, you can waste all your time and effort in it, but ultimately realize it's not there. You'll have to turn within someday.
So basically, you're looking at the wrong place.
Absolutely.
And happiness is an inside job. And once you get your inner world right, it will reflect in your outer world. Am I right,
Absolutely.
Vinayji?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I have a small story in that context. There was a very elderly lady with a walking stick looking for something under a street light.
Mm-hmm.
And a passerby looks at that lady at that ripe age, struggling to search for something, and he immediately goes in assistance to search, help her. Seeing another passerby stops, and in India it happens, no? We get down and anything that interests us, we want entertainment. So, and a few more people joined in, and after 10 minutes, there were a group of 15, 20 people searching for something. And everybody were busy searching, but none were finding anything. And then they started probing each other and say, hey, what are you looking for? I said, I do not know. I just started searching because he was searching. And then the chain led to the old lady. And then they asked, Amma, I know that you are seriously searching for something. What are you searching for? To which she said, I am actually searching for my needle. That is my only thing I have. See, my clothes are tattered and torn and I need this needle desperately to stitch them. Okay. I know it will be difficult to search for it, but where did you lose it? Because there are 40 eyes searching for it and we have not found it. Where have you lost it? She said, actually, I lost it in my hut. Then they asked, bewildered, why are you searching here? No, there is no light in my hut, but there's enough light in the street. Therefore, I'm searching here. That's how absurd our life is. Hmm? We
I,
are searching where there is light. In fact, this, the symbolism behind why a sanctum sanctorum in a temple is kept dark. Have you seen, if you go to any Orthodox temple, there's enough light rest of the temple, but the sanctum sanctorum is intentionally left dark. The only light that is there is that the lamp at the feet of the Lord. That light is just good enough to have the darshan. Why is it kept dark? The godhood or the truth is unknown to you. And the deepest bowels of the temples has the deity, the sanctum sanctorum. The God within is unknown to you, yet it is resplendent. It's not that the Atman or the reality is gloomy. No, the truth is resplendent, but it is unknown to you. That's the symbolism. So you need to go within to search the truth. But just because everything out there is tantalizing and it is glittery and it is tempting, we all fall a prey to the external temptations and we have got lost. But we need to garner our thoughts and turn within. And one who turns within will find that he will tap the reservoir of happiness. It's a reservoir of happiness there. But as long as you turn outward, you will be fooled by your own senses.
yeah, beautifully put.
Thank
So
you.
with this, Vinayji, let us open the questions from the audience. I have one already from
Sure.
Ratna. Okay. Ratna says, Vinay Garu, knowing that Vedas and Upanishads teach us the way of life, the only way of life, why is it not easily and readily available to today's society at schools and colleges? Why it has to come to us later in life once we realize and lost so many years of life without peace or purpose?
In fact, I must say Ratnama has actually read my mind.
Mhm.
In fact, the often remark I get, not just from her, I appreciate her observation, but all my students who have come to me, and as I've said, in the little journey I've taken, I started lecturing or sharing my, I was given an opportunity to go and start teaching, and I just took to it like fish to water. I did not know, we were not trained. I just wanted to share my experience. So when I went into it from the age of 19, I started sharing. So it's over 2 decades. I've just dealing with lives of people, the minds of people, is trying to share these ideas. And the common comment from every student almost I get, where has this knowledge been all this while? And they say, I wish I had this knowledge a little earlier. I just wish, if only I had, you know. So it is very easy to say that why is this knowledge, where has this knowledge been? As always said in life, Ratnama, please realize everything in life works with this principle of demand and supply. As long as there is demand, there shall be supply. The fact that Mallika ji was very kind enough to invite me, there is this demand was created, there is supply. And so nice to hear all of you are available to be receptive to these ideas. The question is, are you really ready enough to lend your ears to these great truths? Do you have that space for it in your life? Have you created that space? So the moment you create that space, knowledge comes, it flows. Knowledge always flows from higher to lower. So it shall flow, but it is in us to create that space. And having said that, it has been our effort to make this knowledge available in every possible avenue, whether be it pure philosophy. Like I said, I do take lectures on the purest aspect of Vedanta, which is teaching the scriptures and the Shastras, whether be it the Gita or the Prakriyas or the very Upanishads themselves. I do even the seminars and workshops for the corporates. I go to the education institutions to teach them these practical tools so that they have it ingrained, because I know what it means to have it at that young age. I got it at 16. And these knowledge, this value should be taught before you enter the arena of life. You can't learn it after entering. And that's where everybody realizes it's a little too late. It's like, I don't learn driving on the highway. I must learn driving, perfect it, and then get onto the highway. But everybody seems to be aping other, blind leading the blind. The reason why we are where we are is nobody is questioning, nobody is examining life and seeing what is happening. You know, there's a very beautiful saying, a wise man is one who learns from others' mistakes.
True.
Why are we not learning?
And history is full of it. Mythology talks all about that, how to
Absolutely.
learn from these great people and stories. And also to Ratna's question, when the student is ready, this is what scripture says, when the student is ready, the master appears. So yeah, and like Vinayji mentioned earlier, that what is more important is that willingness to learn, the acknowledgement that I do not know, I would like to know, and that surrender to learn. And once that happens, the avenues open. And Vinayji does take workshops. I'm going to share his details very shortly. And please subscribe to his workshops and his classes. He teaches Gita, Vedanta, and many other seminars. You could also become part of Circle of Mindfulness, where we bring more and more teachers like Vinayji and everybody together on one platform and introduce them to you. So you can see what is that you can learn. And like I said, we are living in a very, very interesting times where things have become so much more easy. It is so accessible. I feel back in olden days or ancient times, to meet one guru, you had to wait your entire lifetime to have that one initiation and that one piece of advice or probably truth. Right now we have access to so many of them, and there is so many oceans out there to quench our thirst of knowledge and wisdom. So the next question, a lot of people agree with it, Vinayji. What you said is right.
Thank you.
That there is a dearth of this information out there. But I'm going to share Vinayji's information so you all can get in touch with him. There is another question. As mentioned, technique of living, Vedas is not taught in schools or colleges, and good articulate, and gurus who can articulate are hard to come by, but looks plentiful. In this context, is it possible to understand only by reading these books?
See,
yeah.
Could you get what exactly that question is asking?
The question is, can you learn the wisdom through reading the books alone?
Okay. Who is asking that, Mallika?
This is, the name is not completely given.
Okay, fair enough. Now, see, you need to be extraordinary caliber to just read books and be able to help yourself. Just to draw an analogy in the Shastras, is like you need to be an Ekalavya. You need to learn archery from a statue of a guru. See, Ekalavya was an extraordinary student. His guru did not want to teach for obvious reasons. I wouldn't get into it. But when Dronacharya said, I will not teach archery, he went into the woods, made a statue of him and learned from the statue. Statue means is a dead guru. A book is a dead guru. Means it doesn't talk to you. You need to have all that in you to be able to help yourself. It needs extraordinary intellect, but if you have a guide to help you, will always help. Now, why I say this is the scriptures are spoken in their contemporary thought and language. And you need someone who needs to understand that and put in our contemporary thought and language. Make it applied philosophy. they only talk pure philosophy. So I would say it is rather difficult to understand. So you would need to find someone who can help you understand and make it simpler, to guide you, to help you, without which it would be rather difficult to fathom what they are saying.
Great. The next question is, actually a lot of people are asking, Guruji, do you teach children and teenagers?
Yes, I do teach them.
Great. And another question is, Guruji, what is true service as per Vedanta? This is asked by Seturaman, Mr. Seturaman.
He was a student of mine, and I don't know why he's asking, because other day we spent 1.5 hours understanding this. So Mallika, you'll have to stretch by hour and a half.
I think
Now, yeah, Mallika.
I suspect he wants everybody to understand it.
No, I know. See, he always has a larger intention behind it. So I get where he's coming from. The question is, what is true service? There are various elements or ingredients of service. Fundamental element of understanding service actually can be rendered at various levels of one's personality. So one must understand you can do material service, you can do physical service, you can do emotional and intellectual service, and then you can also do spiritual service, which is the verse in the 4th chapter of the Gita, which says dravya yajnas tapo yajnah yoga yajnas tathapare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samshita vrataha. So of all sacrifices, the sacrifice of the knowledge of the self is perhaps, he says, is the highest of all yajnas you can ever render to mankind. Now, but the fundamental principle of service is service must benefit the recipient. It's not what you have that you can part with, whether it does benefit the recipient. And when that service is done in the right spirit, it transforms the donor and the donee. It benefits the donee and the donor. So the true service you do render is always judged by what result it produces. What is the outcome of your service? So, and there are greater elements to it. Many people think service as getting rid of unwanted things in the house. You get rid of junk or garbage from the house. I don't need this. It's not parting with unwanted things. Service is to identify with the donee. And there are more elements to it, but of all services, Atma Vidya is the highest of all services, the Gita says. Hardly known, hardly understood, rarely done.
Great. Wonderful. There is another question from Mr. Rangarao. When everything is predestined, what is that effort I am to put to get to that destiny or to that goal?
Rangara Garu, the question you're asking is, if everything is predestined, what is the consequence of putting any effort, or is there any role of self-effort? Perhaps I would like to question the very assumption or the proposition you put, firstly, that everything is predestined. The Shastras say nothing in life is predestined. Your destiny is this moment, sir. Destiny is the present moment. My destiny in the present is determined or predetermined by my actions I've committed thus far. I know what I have done this moment backwards. You do not know. I know. Since I know what I have done, I will helplessly face the consequences of actions I have committed. but I have not done any actions from now on. My future is up to me what I do. So the future is open book. That is not predestined. If you say future also is predestined or predetermined, then human has no free will. That free will is known as in Sanskrit Purushartha. And in fact, it's only a human being has got what is this Purushartha. No other creature. In fact, you are right to say animals' lives are predestined, not a human life. A carnivore will die as a carnivore. It will never become a herbivore. And a herbivore will never become a carnivore just because it is short of vegetation. It will die as a herbivore. So their lives are restricted, not a life of a human. So the Shastras say you can evolve to the highest glory, or you can devolve to the lowest. The choice is yours. So a human being has got what is known as the choice of action. And if you say if it is predestined, it takes away that freedom or free will or choice of action from us, which the Shastras don't agree to that. So you may have to revisit the idea and perhaps examine it. And if opportunity arises, you can always connect with me again and we can have an open discussion on it, sir.
That's wonderful. We have another question. Yes, you have. It is generally understood that Gita borrows heavily from the Upanishads. Is it then better to read the Upanishads since they are the source?
See, Upanishads are like PhD. Gita is like I would say, let's say, schooling. You would have to evolve from schooling to graduate and then do PhD. So I wouldn't recommend to read the Upanishads directly. No doubt, as you rightly said, Gita is nothing but, if you know, I'm sure you're well acquainted, the entire Gita, which consists of 701 verse, 18 chapters. You know, the 18 chapters of Gita is explaining only 3 words. The 3 words which the Upanishads take 18 chapters of chaste philosophy is explaining the 3 words. The 3 words are Tat, Tvam, Asi. That thou art. Now, I can't guarantee you will understand or I have been struggling to understand that. So it takes a lot of effort to understand what the Upanishads are declaring. So the Upanishads give aphorisms. So this is one of the very famous aphorisms, which it takes 18 chapters to explain. So you need this understanding to get to the deeper works. We all will evolve, but I think it's better to start with Gita, or in fact start with more preliminary textbooks, other prakriyas, like I would recommend Bhajagovindam, Atma Bodha. They are more simpler, diluted philosophy of the same text, and then slowly you could evolve to Gita and then move on to the Upanishads or the Vedas.
And there's another question by Amrita. If we are by our free will, then why people die suddenly in natural calamities? Isn't it predestined?
No, cause of death is not. It's just an instrument. You can die through disease. You can die through COVID. You can survive through COVID. You can be alive through a flight crash, or you can die through a natural calamity, or you can die naturally. Your death is only determined by your vasanas. So death is too subtle to be determined by gross factors. Death is only determined by when your vasanas are the thought forces which are responsible for the creation of a being. So when a human being is born, he is born with certain vasanas. Vasanas can be understood as desires. So the desires are the fuel, or the vasanas are the fuel which drives a human. And when those vasanas or desires get exhausted, one dies. And how you die is determined by your karma. I can die a very peaceful death. I can die a miserable death. And how you die is decided by your karma. But my appeal to us is, but to you all is, let us all die once. Let us not die day by day. Every moment to moment, we are afraid of dying. Thanks to the virus, there is a fear that has consumed and engulfs us. Let us all, Amita, let's all die once. Huh? And it can be through the virus, let it be. So let us live peacefully, happily, rather than dying moment to moment, isn't it? It's like the doctor was worried. He's worried. Every patient walks into the clinic. Is he a carrier of virus? He's getting paranoid. And I told him, why don't you close the clinic and sit in the house? How long will I fund the clinic? How long will I keep taking out my savings? So you can't accept this, you can't accept that. And he's dying moment to moment. So my appeal to him is, sir, let's all die once, sir. And we had a good laugh at it. Yeah?
Very
So,
true. And very well. Right. We have another question by Miss Agasti. Hi, good morning. I'm new too, and this is the first session. Question from me is: Vinayji mentioned about 3 categories each one of us fall in, like one Satra. Okay,
Sattva, Rajas, Tamas.
Yes, he mentioned something else. So I couldn't remember the words though. How do we control ourselves and drive towards desired one? And thank you, Vinayji, for great sessions with simple words. He says, or she says.
Thank you. Her good name, sorry, Agastya, is it?
Agasti. So I do not
Agasti.
know whether this.
Agasti. No, Agasti. I think I see her name here.
Yeah.
Thanks, Agasti, for the compliment. See, I've always learned that it is the job of a learned man or a man of knowledge to be understood. You don't expect the students to rise to his level. It's important for me to decode it and put it in a language you understand. And that has been my effort. It is very easy for me to come onto this platform and just rattle off some Vedic truths. No, I can just say what the Vedas are saying. I can just start chanting. No, Isha Vasya Midagu Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat. Thank you, Mallika. I'm done. Will that help? Tena tyaktena bhunjida magradha kasyas vidhanam. This is the highest truth of Vedanta, of the Upanishads, of Ishavasya Upanishad. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. And I can rattle off the Vedas, I can rattle off the Upanishads. Believe me, you may be mesmerized by it, but you will not understand the word. As Umar Khayyam said, they talked about and about. I came out of the same door I went in. They just spoke many words, but I didn't understand anything. But when somebody speaks in a language you understand, often I get comments is, what did he speak? I also know everything. So I'm glad you have taken that approach. You appreciate that how the Vedic principles are able to be relatable. So the question you're asking is, what are these 3 states of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and how do we rise to it? So Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are nothing but your mental temperaments. And these mental temperaments reflects in everything that you do. The kind of food you eat, the kind of thoughts you entertain, the kind of clothes you wear, everything that you do is determined by the mindset. Now, Sattva is the highest state of a mind, which is calm, peace, serene, equanimous, balanced, equipoised. Rajas is a state of mind which is agitated, disturbed, desire-ridden, stressful, full of expectations, disappointed, anxiety, etc. Tamas is a state of heedlessness. Anything you say, their standard definition is dekhenge, akla, choose them. Everything is future tense. So they have this attitude of postponing. They never do it then and then. So it is ignorance, it is sleep, it is sloth. Now, the question is, how do you promote it? So when you understand the three natures, and when you gain this higher wisdom, the higher wisdom is food for thought for your sattva. So when you gain this wisdom, your sattvic quotient slowly but surely increases. So if you have the right stimuli, if you have the right input, you will grow. In fact, I will remind you of the very famous words by quoting Adi Shankaracharya's very famous verse from Bhaj Govindam. He says, Sat Sangatve Nisangatvam Nisangatve Nirmohatvam Nirmohatve Nishchalatatvam Nishchalatatve Jivan Muktihi. Now, why I refer to this verse is, here is a verse which gives us the ladder of rise of a human being. There are two ladders in the Shastras, the ladder of rise in Bhaj Govindam and ladder of fall in the chapter 2 of the Gita, verses 62 and 63. Chapter 2, 62 and 63 gives the ladder of fall, the ladder of rise in Bhaj Govindam, 9th verse. Now, please go and refer to it. Now, why I refer to the ladder is, he says, your spiritual rise starts with satsangatve. He says, satsang is the company you keep, the right company. So what is the right stimuli you give to yourself? That determines what you become. It's like, it's the raw material. What is the kind of raw material that is being supplied into the company? If the company supplies very poor quality of cotton, the fabric that comes out will also be mediocre, isn't it? But if the cotton is of the best quality, you will find the machinery is also beautiful, the process is beautiful, the product also is of the finest quality. So your spiritual evolution begins with satsang. So if you give yourself the right stimuli, the right input, the right information, the right knowledge, you will find you will be in the right direction, well and truly towards enhancing of sattva.
Thank you for answering that. There is one last question. Actually, there are lots of questions, but because we have the time limit, I will not be able to read out all of them. There is one question by Nishtala.
Sorry, Mallika. Sorry to interrupt. Are there more than one question there?
More than one questions, but we're not going to read all of them because I understand there is time commitment here. Now, so there's one question from Nishchala. Is there a concise way of approaching the Vedanta? As this seems to be really long drawn process and I now do not have that much of time. While Guruji answers, I'm going to share with you all the details about him and his classes. So, Vinayji, please, could you elaborate on that while I share?
So, you're asking for a pill. I'm sorry, I don't have a pill which you can just pop in and say, I'm done. So, the pill is what Mallika is sharing. There's no other way but to apply yourself to learn it. It's like you go to a teacher of music and say, I'm interested in piano, guitar, and I want to learn piano in 1 week. For what? I want to perform at the Albert Hall. Next weekend, I want to perform Albert Hall, and can you teach me piano in 1 week? What will the Guru say? I don't want to say that. So I understand your concern, but also please understand it is your life and it matters. It's all in your hands. The choice is yours. There is enough wisdom out there to transform you. It's up to you whether you want to embrace it and come and transform you, or leave it aside and live the life one wants to. The choice is yours, ma. But there's enough out there to help you. So please help yourself. All right.
Yeah, and I agree there are no shortcuts when you really want to seek wisdom and not just settle for knowledge.